Hello, everybody. Today we are here to talk about a classic, a book that has inspired hundreds, thousands, millions of people because it's a very old book and it's one of the, as I say, the classics in the history of books and personal development. This book was written in 1937. Even it was written a very long time ago, it has the essence of how it's not only about getting rich, it's about how to be successful in life, it's how to fulfill the thing that you want to achieve in life. So this is Napoleon Hill, and this book took 25 years to write, to interview the most successful people at that time and write a book with the best outcomes of the things that they have in common. So he spent around 25 years interviewing around 500 people. One of those are these in this list, among many of them: Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, Graham Bell, Rockefeller. Well, some of them are not very loved nowadays because they got millionaire in some tricky ways. But anyway, those people wanted to be rich and use, if not all, most of the insights that we are going to see today, and that is how they reach richness. Napoleon Hill says something that is a principle. So in the presentation, in the cover of the presentation, I put the 14 principles. Well, there are 13 plus one, that the one is this. Thoughts are things. Anything that materialized was before a thought. Anything that it is created in this material life, well, somebody or some kind of creation was a thought. It was immaterial before. It was in the kingdom, in the region of energy, and it eventually became a thing. And how? So he wrote 13 steps towards richness. And are you curious about them? Let's start. The first one, desire. That is very connected to faith and autosuggestion. We're going to see right now all of them briefly, and then one by one, or some in groups, because some of them are connected. Well, all are connected, but some of them can be grouped because they are quite similar. And then specialized knowledge, imagination, organized planning, that is also very connected to decision and persistence. We have also the power of the mastermind. What is that, of the power of the mastermind? We're going to see in a bit. Also the mystery of sex transmutation. What is that? Are you curious about that? And the subconscious mind, the brain, and the sixth sense, that this little group is also very connected. Well, let's start from the first one. Desire. So if you want to convert a thought in something material, that it could be, I want to be rich, I want to, in the end have the bills here in my hand. How to do that? But again, it's not only about getting rich, just getting rich. It's how to be successful in whatever enterprise you want. So how to materialize any dream that we have. First of all, you have to have desire, but not any kind of desire, not just a wish. I wish to do this. It's not enough. It has to be a burning desire. It's something that you have, it's inside you. So you are so passionate about that. This in the middle of your mind is like, I want to achieve this, yes or yes. So that is the first secret, or law inside, whatever you want to call it. If you want to achieve something for real, you have to commit to it for good. And he gives some examples of the people he interviewed. For example, we have Thomas Alva Edison, who, as you know, invented the bulb. And he tried so many times, like we just see in the textbooks, well, he invented the bulb, but people don't know how long he spent trying that and how many times he failed until he got that. But he had the burning desire of inventing a device that since then people didn't have to use the fire, like normal fire. They just connect to electricity and voila. So that's something that is for us now so normal. Well, at that time it was a dream, and he had the dream and he had the burning desire to do it. And also he tells the story of Edwin Barnes, who also had a burning desire that was to work with Thomas Alva Edison. And he left his hometown and he just went to the office and got in front of him, of Edison, and said, please let me work with you. I don't mind whatever you want me to do it. I will be here. So Edison accepted that. He saw he was very motivated and he put him in a very low position. And Edwin Barnes accepted. And he was working in that lower position for many years until eventually he became a partner of Edison. So this is another example of a burning desire. A burning desire is like you have a bridge. Let's say, okay, I'm in this state and I want to reach to this state. So, but it's not only like, okay, I'm going to go to this state, just going to try if I got it. If not, I will come back to my previous state. Well, if you have that philosophy, probabilities are higher that you fail. So if you want to be successful and show that you really have a burning desire, you have to burn the bridge. Leave the previous state behind for good and just focus on your dream. So this is very connected also with faith. You have the desire to achieve something, you have that vision. Remember in other sessions, for example, in the law of attraction, we have been talking about that. A good practice is to visualize what you want. But also that has to be connected with faith, to believe really that you are going to achieve that. It's not like, yes, I want that, and I hope, I pray. No, it's like to really believe from the very bottom of your heart and your every cell of your body that you are going to get that. So, and the third one, is also very connected, is the autosuggestion. Because to have faith, one of the ways, or the main way to do it consciously, because you can have faith like, oh yes, I have faith that, I don't know, the summer will come soon. But if you want to, let's say, auto give you faith, you can do it through autosuggestion. And for example, it could be, most of you have heard of this, the affirmations. That is to talk about something that you want in first person and the present tense. For example, I am rich. It's not like I will be rich. No, it's I am rich. If you say once, well, okay, but imagine if you say that like every single day you get up and say, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, and you go to bed, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich. So that the suggestion you are working on your subconscious mind. That also we saw in the neuro-linguistic programming session, we saw something talking about that. You're working on your subconscious mind that in the end rules your life, because well, as you know, we have the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is when we are awake, we are conscious of what we do, etc. And the subconscious mind, the thing is working even when we are sleeping. So if you really want to make changes in your life, change something in your life, you have to convince your subconscious mind to change that. And then you will start acting automatically because it's subconscious in the new way. So that can be done with autosuggestion. Remember, for example, affirmations, that also a very important thing about affirmations is that have to be positive. For example, if you say, I don't want to be poor, then your subconscious mind, before the getting the I don't want, gets the want to be poor. So to process something in your mind, first you process the positive thing. Is if I, for example, I tell you, don't think about a pink elephant. Okay, so you think about the pink elephant, and then you say no. But yeah, the subconscious mind, you have to work on positive terms. So don't say I don't want to be poor. Say I want to be rich. In this case, about, because we're talking mainly today about getting rich, but again, it's not only about getting rich. It's about any dream that you have, how to be successful in any dream that you have. All right, so those are the first three ones. And now let's move on. Specialized knowledge. So it's very important to be successful, that, well, it's good to have general knowledge, but it is also very important to specialize in something, in some field that you are going to exploit in order to develop the plan. That is another point that we are going to see later, to develop the plan to be successful. So usually you need specialist knowledge. And it also tells the story of Henry Ford, that again, he was a dreamer. Nobody could think at that time that you could ride a horse that is automatic horse, right? So he had the dream to create automatic horses that you didn't need to feed, well, only with oil. And the people at that time, well, some jealous people probably, they told that he was specialized in that field only, but in general, he didn't know too much because he didn't go to college and he didn't have too much studies, like Edison, for example, as well. But he specialized in that. But he said that if he wants to have know something general, he could push a button and bring somebody of his team and tell him that general knowledge. So again, general knowledge is good to have, yeah, but well, if you want to achieve success, usually specialize in something. That is the fourth one. But well, it's the specialized knowledge, but yeah, in general, knowledge is good to have and develop, not only in your when you are young, but during all your life. So this is a sentence from the book. The way of success is the way of continuous pursuit of knowledge. Okay, so this is about knowledge, but there is something even more important than knowledge. Imagination. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. Well, Einstein is not in the book, but I have included in the presentation because this sentence is, I like very much this sentence. So again, knowledge, I mean, the things that are already created is good, to know about the things that are already there. But if you want to be extraordinary in your life and get extraordinary results, then you must use your imagination to create new things. And there are two types of imagination, according to the book. Synthetic one, that is about picking up some different things from different places and put it together, or do something, distribute the different knowledge that is already there and change it and create something new from there. That is good. But he also talks about the creative imagination. That, according to him, is the well, imagination, the knowledge that we bring from connection from something higher than us, like, well, I mean, we are part of that. So yeah, this book it might sound materialistic, but it's also very spiritual, because in this way he's talking about a very spiritual concept. It's about connecting with the, you want to call it God, the source of energy, cosmos, universe, etc., and pick the ideas from that. Okay, so that is the imagination. Well, so far so good. Remember, desire, faith, autosuggestion, specialized knowledge, and imagination. Those are steps that is very important to have. But remember that if you want something, first, number one is to have the desire. For example, the people who are artists, famous, so successful, do you think they just went there by chance, or they committed themselves to become a successful singer, artist, etc.? I think it's the second one, the second option, right? And they work hard on that, and with faith, believing that they can do it, and autosuggestion, like, yes, I am good, like I can do it, etc. And of course, specialized knowledge. So they learned in their field, music, for example, and imagination, creating things that didn't exist before. Now, let's go move on. I have grouped these three ones also because they are also similar: organized planning, decision, and persistence. So once you have clear what you want, and you have faith on that, and you have the knowledge, etc., well, you need to make a plan to make that happen. So it's very good to have a lot of imagination and generate great ideas, but well, we are in this material world where we need to make it, to materialize it. So make a plan to organize that. And decision. That means stop procrastinating. It's like, okay, I am clear that this is what I want, and I have the plan. So why I have to wait? Yes, start. Stop being afraid. Well, we are going to see at the end. It's a bonus. That is also in the book about the different fears that we have. So because the fears, sometimes we procrastinate, we are afraid of starting things, even we think we might be ready, but still there is something that stops us. So the seventh one is about decision. And the eighth one, once you have started, usually things are not easy, especially if there is an ambitious goal, like creating the first car in the world, etc. So you have to persist, and it's going to be hard probably, and you're going to fail many times until you achieve it. In the book, it also tells the story of family who had a mine, and they were getting valuable minerals, but then they keep going inside the mine and they couldn't find more. So they just gave up and sell their equipment and the mine to other family. And then the other family keep doing that. And soon after, they found like a very big amount of valuable mineral. So sometimes we might feel too tired and we say, okay, I stop here, I give up. And then, but that is not the kind of thought that you should have if you want to achieve success. Every failure, and this is in the book also, every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent success. So every time we fail is another seed that we plant for a future success in the form of a lesson or any form, but we must not be afraid of failing, because that means that we are on the way to our goal. And also another quote from the book: winners never quit and quitters never win. Okay, so summarizing, you have to have a plan, stop procrastinating, start doing it, and then have persistence. Let's move on. And now the power of the mastermind. What is this of the power of the mastermind? So imagine that you sit down with very successful people like some of these rich people, and you sit down every day with them and talk with them and learn from them, and also they learn from you. So this is a mastermind. And he brought this concept, and now it is well, I have heard this concept already in the entrepreneurial world. That is a good way to improve. To well, it could be a mastermind. It could be like a to have a mentor, but usually a mastermind is a concept of a group of people. And he tells in the book, and it's something that it was a secret, his secret for a long time, but in the book he exposed his secret, that for many years and every day he was using his imagination to imagine a table like this with some people like Emerson, Paine, Edison, Darwin, Lincoln, Burbank, Napoleon, Ford, and Carnegie. So every day he was practicing this. He was imagining he was in a room with these people, and then when he had a thought, a question, then he imagined which of these people would tell him. So, well, usually a mastermind is with other people, real people, but you can even do it like Napoleon Hill did with only his imagination. And he started with them, but then also he brought more people into his mastermind. Even Jesus Christ, St. Paul, Galileo, Copernicus, well, all these historical people. And that brought him a lot of, even it came from his imagination, just imagining what other people said to him. It was very good to him. But well, if you can do this for real, continue. And now the mystery of sex transmutation. Also an interesting concept. Well, I will not put here any picture or image. You will use your imagination. The sex transmutation is all the effort that we put usually into, well, if we like somebody, we try to flirt, conquer that person, invite for dinner, buy things, etc., etc. Or just our instinct usually is asking us for sex, and we do a lot of things, and we use a lot of our time to pursue the fulfillment of this instinct. That is good, of course, but imagine if you use that power, because actually that kind of energy, the sexual energy, is very powerful. So imagine if you use that kind of energy instead of just to fulfill your basic instincts to towards the goal you have set for yourself. So that is the mystery of sex transmutation. Is, well, you don't need to live sex forever, but you can for some time forget about that and use that, all that focus, all that energy, all that time, all that effort that we usually in our lives, especially when you are young, but even after, to achieve other things. And yeah, that doesn't mean that you are forgetting about sex and you don't want to have a sex. Well, if you are focused on your goal and you work with the faith and the passion, because when you are working on your passion, people can feel that, and that is very sexy actually. So you will attract people with your mindset, being a positive person, being a driven person, a person who is take the decision to do things and persist. That is very attractive for people. So even you don't look for that, you still will attract sex even without using that much of your time and effort. But well, of course, if you have a couple, don't forget to give attention, to give time, because if you focus only on your business, that relationship is not going to be very successful. So as always, it's good to balance. So that is the mystery of sex transmutation. What do you think about that? Would you like to try to to use that? All right, now let's go for the last group. That is the subconscious mind, the brain, and the sixth sense. The subconscious mind, we already talked about that a little before when we're talking about faith, about autosuggestion. We must work on our subconscious mind. We must convince ourselves that we are capable to do what we are pursuing to do, and feed ourselves with positive thoughts. And well, it's also good to surround yourself by people who have a similar mindset and encourage you, instead of surrounding by people who maybe if you get successful, they envy you, they are jealous, and they don't want you to be successful. Some people might happen. So you must be very focused on working on your subconscious mind to create a successful mindset. The mindset is so very important. As you say, the subconscious mind rules your life, because you act the things that you do, usually that you think you are taking decisions rationally, actually those decisions are usually taken subconsciously and from your more instinctive feelings. And well, the reptilian brain and the emotional brain, those usually take the decisions, and then our rational brain justifies the decision. And for that, we were talking also a few weeks ago about neuro-linguistic programming that you can find on our YouTube channel. I put in on the chat the links. So we are not going to talk much about this, but neuro-linguistic programming is about how to reprogram your mind to change your subconscious mind. So we have habits that have been developed since we were younger. Usually during the first 7 years of your life, you create your character, but also through situations, maybe traumatic, or maybe you have learned, or you come to courses like this, or activities, and then you realize about things, and but you have a program in your subconscious mind, and then you act in your life according to that program. It's like a computing program. You write it down, and then whatever you put, any input, it will process the input with the rules that you have specified, and then it will bring the output. So you do the same with your subconscious mind. And neurolinguistic programming is a series of techniques, of tools that help you to work on your subconscious mind. If you want to know more about that, you can see the other session that is in the YouTube channel. Now, he also talks about the brain. We have also talked about this in other sessions, like for example, in the law of attraction. Our brain works as a receiver, but also emitter of energy and thoughts. And thoughts also are energy, so it's the same. I mean, it can be from a certain point of view, it can be considered the same. So through our brain, we broadcast, our thoughts are energy, and we broadcast that energy. And so we connect that with the universe. That is also the 13th one, the sixth sense, is that connection with the, well, you can call it universe, cosmos, you can call it in many ways, but is that in some sense we are all one, right? We have seen that in other times. Some people, spiritual people have already this concept. We see ourselves as separated people, individuals, but at the same time, energetically, we are all connected, and we are all part of the same part of, the universe. So, and we are all connected, even though we cannot see physically, but our thoughts, our energy, and are reaching other people, and other people are descending their thoughts that they are reaching us. So when we have this burning desire to achieve something, and we are persistent, and all the things that we have said before, all those, especially if you mix with the emotions, we say that also in the previous chats. In our brain, let's say, is the dial. No, when you have a radio, you change the dial, and then you get the different show. So our thoughts, you change the dial, but at the same time, our emotions is the amplifier. So the more emotionalized is something, the more power is the energy that you are broadcasting. So if you are very passionate about something and you are working on that very passionately, so people can feel that, and somehow the universe is helping you to achieve what you want when you are releasing those kind of energy with faith, with feeling sure that you are going to achieve that. All these emotions are also helping you to bring that to reality. And when we have seen before about the imagination, and remember that Napoleon Hill says that there is a synthetic imagination, that is to put together things that already exist, well, together or separate. Well, we had another chat about creativity some weeks ago as well, and then the creative imagination, that is the knowledge or the intuition that we get when we connect with that universal source of energy that brings the ideas that are already there somewhere, and then you pick them up. We have reached the end of the 13 ways to get steps to achieve richness. And remember that there is a central point, that is the thoughts are things. So he also said that in this way: whatever your mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Okay, I like this sentence. So, well, decades ago, people were thinking, believing that we could go to the moon, and probably the people at the time thought they were crazy. But they, eventually got it. So, and there are many examples in the history that things that at the beginning were crazy and it was impossible to conceive, or for example, the internet, Wi-Fi, that we can connect without cables and see each other, etc. At first they were only ideas, but every idea that the mind can conceive and believe, we can achieve. Also, he talks about example of his own son. His own son, he got born without ears, and of course the doctor said probably he could be deaf, and also he wouldn't be able to speak. But Napoleon Hill, because he had desires of that, that his son was able to hear, he had faith, and all these secrets, he used autosuggestion to his son. And from his early age, he was always giving the idea that he could do it. Eventually he could hear, and if he put his mouth very close to his head, the son could feel and hear something. But it was very difficult if he was in the classroom. Only when the teacher was shouting and not very far, he could hear something. Otherwise, he couldn't hear. But yeah, even he didn't have the tool that we have to hear. Napoleon Hill and his son, because he put all his he made his son believe on that. And well, he tried a new tool. At the time there was a new device to hear, but it didn't work so well. And later after, from another company, there was a new device also, and he was a bit reluctant to use it at the beginning because to avoid disappointment. But eventually he tried, and he could hear thanks to that new device. He could hear quite well, and he in the end he got hired by that company, and he was kind of the public relationships of that company, going around the world, well, spreading his word, and he has a good example that he could hear with that device. And so, well, this is another example of that, something that could seem impossible, but Napoleon Hill could conceive and believe that his son could have, and he got it. Now, so we have finished these 13 steps, but still there are some interesting things in the book that we're going to see. He talks about the difference between faith and fear. We have been talking already about faith, and now we are going to talk more about fear. All thought has a tendency to clothe itself in its physical equivalent. So either you have faith or also you have fear, it is in your mind. It is running in your mind. So that thought has a tendency to become material, only because well, not only usually, but well, and the things that are not so materialistic, for example, you are thinking about a person and that person calls you. That has happened to me, send you a text. So this kind of not so materialistic things is more clear that that can happen. Or when you are working on something that might seem difficult, but eventually you find people who help you, or something that you didn't know it existed, but suddenly you find something that helps you on your way. So as I said before, once you have a purpose and you work on that with passion, etc., the universe helps you to achieve that. But yeah, it could be in both ways. I mean, it's either the things that you have faith that I am sure that I will achieve that, but also it could be about, oh, I'm afraid that this happened to me, and then you are attracting that. So it's better, of course, to think about the things, positive things than the good things that can happen to you, either rather than the fear. But he talks about the 6 basic fears, with some combination of which every human suffers at one tune or another. Most people are fortunate if they not suffer from this entire 6. But yeah, most of us at some point of our lives have had any of these fears. So he put them in order of appearance, or at least at the time. Maybe nowadays we have a different order. Anyway, the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, and the fear of ill health. And then we have the fear of loss of love of someone, the old age, and death. So yeah, all those things exist, can happen, but the book says, he says that if you focus on those, then you are giving them more probabilities. You are giving energy, and that can materialize. So instead of focusing of those things that could happen, bad things, it's better to focus on the opposite things that happen, like in the affirmation. Instead of thinking, I don't want to be poor, you think, I want to be rich. All right, so you interchange fear and put faith instead. And he talks also about a 7th one. That is, he says, is the basic level, susceptibility to negative influences. And that can happen frequently in our lives. Well, people around, consciously or unconsciously, they are giving us negative thoughts. They are giving us trying or just, she said, sometimes it's unconscious, like it's what they think, but like, oh no, this is not possible, give up, don't do that, don't try, this is dangerous, etc., etc. And if we listen, I mean, you can listen, but you can measure the risk, the probabilities of the risk, and the severity of the risk. What are the probabilities of this risk to happen? And if it happens, how serious it is? So, well, if it is high probability and high risk, well, it's good to pay attention. But otherwise, just better focus on the positive things, on your goal, on your vision. And when people don't have a vision in their life, then they have more susceptibility to be attracted to negative influences. But when you really have a dream, well, it could be one dream or more, but you have clear what you want in your life and you work on that, have faith, all these things that we have seen today, then you don't even leave a space for fear. Just, work on that. And well, I can say I have had this philosophy since I read this book, and I have read other many books that some of them we have reviewed in this activity, like for example the Celestine Prophecy with the 19 sides, etc., etc. And well, since then, especially, I have been focused just on what I want to achieve, and well, little by little, step by step. Sometimes it takes longer than you expected, most usually. But if you are very focused on something and you work every day on something, one day maybe you can work 10 hours. Maybe one day you can work 5 minutes. But if you are going in that direction, eventually you will get there. So yeah. But you might say, okay, so what if this happens? So Napoleon Hill also talks about this. What if I didn't have a wife and family? What if I had no money, or I couldn't get a job, or well, in this sense, it's like if I had money, I could do this. If maybe it was the right time, I can do that. If only I were younger, I could do that. Now I'm too old for that. All this, and this is just a part of the list he puts in the book. There are more examples. Are Alibis that is you are working on your subconscious mind negatively to give you reasons to give up. So yeah, just be aware of that. This little voice telling you, blah 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 blah. Just say, shut up. I will focus on what I want to achieve. So that is it. I hope you have got some inspiration. If you didn't read the book, for sure, I hope, well, I believe, I have faith that you have got a lot of inspiration. And if you read the book, well, it can be a good review to give you more faith, more persistence, and more beliefs that you can achieve your goals. And now, as you know, it's time for questions and answers, comments, discussion, etc., etc.
I've got a question.
Yes.
Right. Have you put this into practice? Actually, put the mind, the law of attraction, essentially, isn't it? Have you put this in practice in your life? And if you have, what was a success rate? Do you find it worked?
Yes, thank you for your question, Caleb. Yes, actually, the law of attraction is also very similar to what we have seen today. Napoleon Hill, as you know, this book was written in 1937, so it's much older than even the book of The Secret. So this wisdom is there since many years ago, and at that time, not too many people had access to this wisdom. But fortunately, nowadays, everybody can have access to this. Of course, it's not like I just imagine that I'm going to get that. You must work on that. But answering your question, Caleb, yes, the time I was reading this book, I was living my Asian life. So I was was in 2012. I went to the Southeast Asia. I started in Thailand, but also I spent time in Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia, Nepal, Malaysia, Laos, etc., Cambodia. And I was working as a web developer freelancer, so I could work online, just connecting to internet. I could work anywhere, even in a bungalow or by the beach. It was a very good life. And well, the Southeast Asia is not very expensive. Comparing with Europe, is cheap. So I didn't need to work hard. I spent a lot of time reading these kind of books. And since then, well, that was one of the books that inspired me much. And as the sentence says, whatever your mind can conceive and believe, you can achieve. So that was my philosophy. And at that time, I was, well, I wanted to, once I got started getting this knowledge and put it in practice and seeing the results, I wanted to convey this to other people. So I imagine myself teaching this, and I wanted to become a coach and be able to help people through knowledge from this and many other books, etc. And so after, when I went to the UK, I got the certification of master coach, also LFT practitioner, and I started doing courses in Liverpool. At the beginning, very amateur and improving. Well, with the time, you keep improving, no? Always. So, yeah. So and as you can see now, I am doing right now. Still, in a humble way. I mean, it can be much bigger, but it is just part of the process. It's like the more ambitious the goal, the more time will take to achieve that. But yeah, it's steps forward to that dream. And another dream that I had at that time, I wanted to, from a freelancer, I wanted to give the next step and to be an entrepreneur, to have a company. And also in the UK, I created a company. At the beginning, with a having too much idea about managing a company, I have learned on the way. There is a sentence that is like kind of jump and build your wings on the way. Will you fly? And sometimes I have felt like this: jump and without thinking too much, and then working very hard, sleeping little. But yeah, I have achieved things. Archie, who has come to most of my activities about the language change, salsa classes, and these courses in Liverpool and now online. So he's a witness of that. And well, even before reading that book, I was in Spain being an employee, and my dream was to travel, to be able to travel and work, like to become a digital nomad. And again, it took time and effort, but I got that dream. So I go from dream to dream. Once you achieve one, you can have new ones. But yeah, sometimes those dreams are so ambitious that it might take a long time. Or, for example, you have seen my logo, QLE project, Quantum Life University project. So this high dream is one day to remove the project and to be just a Quantum Life University. So a university that teaches people worldwide these type of things, to things that are not usually taught in the school or even in college, because all those things that we all have access nowadays, if more and more people knew that. The thing is, always there is a downside, that is when people who with not very good intentions understand these concepts, and then they have the dreams that are not so nice for other people, and they also achieve their dreams because they focus on that and they work on that. So yeah, but if we help to raise in a spiritual sense, the frequency of the humankind, let's say, if we make more people more compassionate, more thinking about we are all one, instead of an individual who just want to fulfill my own desires, you focus on more like communities and the world itself. Well, I think it's another dream that doesn't depend on me also, but I am doing my work. Well, I have answered your question, Caleb.
No, yeah. Do you use meditation at all to connect into that quantum field, as Mr. Joe Dispenza or Dr. Joe Dispenza would put it? Do you ever employ this technique?
Yes, I'm not very orthodox doing meditation, you know, like sit down and do like this, but I do spend long time. I sometimes like, for example, going to a park and just walk and, you know, in my thoughts, and that is many times some ideas I have had and I have materialized have come from those ideas, you know, like in when you know when in kind of meditations like activities I do. Yeah, I do frequently, but not no, I don't do yoga. I don't know. I'm quite lazy to do yoga or other practices, but yeah, in my way, I do spend time in solitude and, you know, thinking and well, it is even beyond thinking, because actually our thinking keeps us kind of a slave of this world. We are something bigger than our brain moving. It's something bigger than that. But yeah, to connecting to, you know, you want to call it universal source of energy or God or I don't know, Allah, something like that. But yeah, I not very orthodoxly, but yeah, I do.
Okay, nice one.
Thank you, Caleb. Jack has the hand raised.
Yeah, hi. Just wanted to thank you for holding the event. And overall, it was good at presentation, but I was wondering if I could just correct a few things, though, just so that way we all have like the correct information about the book.
Yes, for sure.
In one of the slides, you'd mentioned, you know, in terms of the fears, how they're split up. The first three isn't actually higher priority. There's another book called Outwitting the Devil that that Napoleon Hill had published 1 year after this, and in there he specifically talked about how the fear of poverty and fear of death was actually the highest priorities in regards to the list of fears. So that's it.
Okay, thank you much, Jack. I appreciate it much. Good correction. Thank you. Okay, guys, have a nice week and see you soon.
Thank you very much.
All the best for you.
Thank you, sweetie.
Bye.
Have a beautiful day.